It's 6:12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, July 4th, 2031, or what's left of it. The sky outside is a gray so thick it feels like it's pressing down on the rooftop. Not clouds, not smoke, just dust. Hangs in the air like it's watching you. This is Miles Jensen. You're tuned in to 98.7 FM, the last working transmitter in the region, broadcasting from what used to be the emergency shelter under WLBR Studios in southern Pennsylvania. The main tower's long gone, collapsed sometime around noon when the aftershocks rolled through again. But this rig still kicks, barely. Backup batteries, solar relays from the roof, when the sun can fight its way through the haze. If you can hear this, you're alive. If you're alive, you need to listen. Drop a comment. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Everything changed 3 days ago. And I don't mean in the way people say everything changes after a divorce or a blackout or a bad election. I mean gravity shifted, lights out, civilization splintering kind of change. The kind we don't have a word for yet. Or maybe we just buried that word a long time ago because we didn't want to believe it could happen here. They told us there'd be a warning, that if anything was coming, asteroids, solar flares, deep space anomalies, the telescopes would catch it. NASA, the ESA, the Planetary Defense Network. We had satellites watching every rock bigger than a microwave. But that's the thing. This one didn't show up on any of them. No trajectory, no incoming alert. Just silence until it wasn't silent anymore. It hit around 9:37 in the morning, give or take a minute. I was live on air reading the morning weather report, muggy, heat wave, traffic delays around Harrisburg, when my mic cracked with feedback and every screen in the studio blinked out. Dead silence. Then came the tremors. Not the rumble of an earthquake, more like the world itself hiccuped. I ran outside, and I wish I hadn't. The sky was, God, I don't even know how to describe it. Like someone struck a match behind the clouds. Bright, burning, and completely still. People on the street just stopped moving. A kid dropped her ice cream cone and didn't pick it back up. I saw a man fall to his knees, sobbing, like he already knew what it meant. I didn't. Not yet. 10 minutes later, the phone stopped working. Not jammed, just empty. You could hear the line, but no tones. No operator. Just silence. I ran back inside, thinking maybe it was just regional. Power grid issues. EMP, maybe. Then the emergency alert hit. Just one. A short burst of signal across AM frequencies, repeating one phrase. Atmospheric anomaly. Seek shelter. Remain underground. Avoid looking at the sky. That was it. Just looped until even that cut out. By 11 a.m., the first wave of calls came in, before cell towers blinked out for good. I've got tapes of them. I've been playing them back just to remember what voices sounded like before they started breaking. From a woman in Roanoke. There's light in the mountains. My husband went to check, and he hasn't come back. I saw birds falling. Just falling. Out of the sky. A trucker out of Ohio. It's like the sun came down in front of me. There was a flash, then the cab went dead. Radios fried. Whole line of semis just sitting here on Interstate 70, not moving. Some drivers got out and started running. Running where? Then, silence. Not static. Just nothing. I managed to patch into a shortwave relay early this morning. It's bouncing off a Navy station somewhere near Halifax. Or what used to be Halifax. Signal's messy, but it got through enough. The asteroid, if that's what we're still calling it, struck somewhere around central Kansas. Not a direct hit. A grazer. It skipped the atmosphere like a stone and then cracked into the ground near Salina. But whatever it was made of, it wasn't just rock. There's a crater 2 miles wide and burning from the inside out. And I mean that literally. The rock's bleeding fire. People who got near it, they didn't just burn. They melted, like wax. And some of them changed. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying that because I heard it from a guy named Travis, ex-Air Force, meteorological wing, now operating out of some bunker near Fort Leonard Wood. He got a sample, what he thinks was a shard of the object, and the reading on his old-school Geiger counter pegged the red line in seconds. But it wasn't just radiation. He said the material was vibrating. Alive, he said. It's humming under the rock. It's not inert. His words, not mine. No word from Washington. No press conference. No continuity of government. I don't know if the president made it to NORAD. There was a broadcast out of Cheyenne Mountain yesterday, but the feed cut halfway through. It ended with someone screaming in the background and a power surge that fried every radio tuned to it. It's hard to keep track of time now. Some clocks work, some don't. Solar watches are okay, but digital ones are busted. Cars, most are dead unless they're pre-1990. Anything with a computer chip might as well be a brick. Planes dropped from the sky the first day. Some slowly, like they were gliding down without power. Others just vanished. I saw one over the ridge, froze midair, tail caught fire, then it fell like a stone. We're off the grid now. This station only survives because we gutted it down to analog. Tube amps, reel-to-reel decks, hand-wired signal boost from an old ham radio kit. My neighbor, Louie, built the whole backup rig after Y2K. Said one day it might save lives. He died yesterday. Stroke, I think. Couldn't get his heart meds. No one could. If you're in a city, get out. I can't say that enough. Power's gone. Water's unreliable. Hospitals are war zones. Looters are stripping stores down to the drywall. And the air. Jesus. The air in some places isn't safe to breathe. I've gotten reports from outside Chicago, Houston, and Atlanta. People coughing up black sludge, kids getting seizures, skin turning pale like they've been underground for weeks. If you can, head north. Not because it's safe, but because it's empty. Less people, less noise. Some say the haze is thinner up there. I've heard whispers of a convoy in Ontario, survivors trying to build a long-range repeater station. I don't know if it's real, but it's something. God, I haven't even told you what it feels like yet. Outside. It's hot, sure, but not heat like a summer day. Heat like a fever, like the world is running a temperature. You step out, and it clings to you, makes your skin crawl. The wind's wrong, too. Doesn't blow, just drifts, like air underwater. And the silence. I didn't realize how loud the world used to be. Birds, bugs, power lines humming, all of it gone. Except once in a while, I'll hear this low moan, real far off, like something echoing up from the ground. I thought it was just my ears ringing, but now a couple of others say they hear it too. I'm gonna open the line now. If you've got signal, or if you're close enough to this frequency, 98.7 FM, I want to hear from you. Tell me what you see, what you hear. If you've made it out of a city, tell me where you went. If you found a safe place, give a marker. Don't say street names. Use natural landmarks, water towers, bridges, broken billboards, anything that doesn't change. We need each other. We're all we've got now. It's now 7:02 p.m. The light outside hasn't changed. It just hangs there, Orange and muddy, like dusk, never ends. There's a smell in the air now. Something chemical. Burned plastic, maybe. It clings to your nose and your clothes like it's part of the dust. If you've still got masks, wear them. Doesn't matter if it's N95 or a bandana. Just keep something between you and whatever's floating in this air. We lost power in the eastern battery bank about 20 minutes ago. I had to reroute it through the manual switch Louis built. I don't think he ever planned for it to carry the whole station, but so far, it's holding. I've got 4 backup car batteries wired in series from the garage out back, plus a pair of cracked solar panels. It's not pretty, and it hums like a dying refrigerator, but it's working. For now. Still no word from DC. Still no military checkpoints on the roads, at least not out here. I've seen Humvees rolling north on 81, but they're not stopping. Just moving fast, lights off, like they're trying to outrun something. Some don't even have plates. One of them had a tarp pulled tight over the back, with what looked like people underneath. Not soldiers. Civilians. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure I want to know. The calls. God, the calls. You're getting through. Barely. The line cracks half the time, and the signal dies halfway through some of them. But I've been recording what I can. I'm going to play back part of a call I got from a man named Reggie, broadcasting on a CB out of southern Missouri. His voice was shaky, but he was clear enough. I was out by Stockton Lake when I saw it. I mean, the edge of it. Something glowing just under the surface. Looked like a bruise in the water, almost. Kids were swimming when it started bubbling. Real slow at first, then it just exploded. Steam, like a geyser. One kid never came back up. The water boiled. Then he paused. Real quiet. It ain't just the crater, man. It's spreading. That's the part that chilled me. See, when we think of an asteroid strike, we imagine one spot, one crater. Maybe some debris, some earthquakes, radiation at worst. But this? It's different. This thing did something to the Earth itself. It's like the soil's sick. The deeper it goes, the more it pulses. There's a woman named Kendra broadcasting out of what used to be Albuquerque. I caught her signal yesterday morning before the interference cut it off. She was a geologist, retired, but said she kept her old monitoring equipment as a hobby. The tremors aren't just from impact, she said. They're rhythmic, like a heartbeat, every 2 hours and 21 minutes, almost like it's alive. She asked if I believed in panspermia, that theory where life doesn't start on Earth, it just gets seeded here by space rocks. Said if that theory's true, maybe we just got seeded again, but this time, not with life, with something else. You can believe her or not. I'm not here to push theories. I'm just here to connect the dots. And right now, the dots are looking more like blood spatter. Let me read you something I wrote down from a survivor who passed through here an hour ago. He didn't want to be on air. Said his name was Ben, and he used to work food delivery in Baltimore before everything went dark. His last run was to a high-rise near the inner harbor. Said as soon as he stepped out of his car, every single streetlight flickered once, and then shattered. The power cut out in the whole block. People started pouring out of buildings like something was chasing them. That's when the silence hit. Not just quiet, total silence. No echo, no birds, no footsteps. Even the wind stopped. He said it felt like being trapped under glass. Then someone screamed. A woman in a sundress just collapsed in the middle of the street and started convulsing. He ran, never looked back, made it all the way to York County, sleeping in storm drains, rationing water from burst sprinklers. You ever notice how fear travels faster than news? Nobody told him what was going on. He didn't have cell service, didn't have maps. But the whole time, he said he knew. Not what it was, but what it wasn't. Said it wasn't human. Said it didn't want anything from us. Just to exist. And that we couldn't coexist with it. Let me pause here. If you're in a basement, a cellar, an old storm shelter, good. Stay there. If you're lucky enough to have battery-powered lights, use them sparingly. Conserve anything that uses juice. LED is best. Hand crank radios, gold. If you can find an old dynamo flashlight, even better. Here's what we've learned from the people still managing to send messages across the Midwest. Avoid anything glowing. That sounds obvious, but in the panic, people forget. There's phosphorescent growths sprouting near the crater. Mushy, fibrous stuff. Yellow-green. Touching it causes blistering. Inhaling the spores, yes, spores, leads to fever and hallucinations. Someone called it star rot. I don't think the name matters anymore. Just avoid it. Water filtration is key. Standard filters don't catch whatever this thing is leaking into the groundwater. Boil first, then run it through charcoal if you can find some. Old Brita pitchers help, but don't rely on them alone. Radios older than 1980 seem unaffected. Newer gear, spotty at best. Try to go analog where possible. Don't trust light patterns. Multiple reports from survivors describe flickering streetlights or blinking power boxes drawing them in, like it hypnotizes you, especially at night. Some people just wander off and don't come back. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to keep you alive. Another call came through from someone named Elena near Baton Rouge. She said her community rigged up a windmill to charge lantern batteries. They're bartering candles and canned food. No cash, no crypto, just trade. She said an old man named Pete taught them how to store rainwater using a system from back in the 40s. Elena's voice cracked when she talked about her daughter. Said she hasn't smiled in 3 days. Not since the stars vanished. That's something I haven't even mentioned yet. The stars are gone. No more constellations. No North Star. No satellites blinking overhead. The sky looks blank, washed out. It's like the night can't remember what it's supposed to be. And maybe neither can we. I'll be here as long as I can. I don't sleep much now. Just sit here with the headphones on, listening for signals that might never come. Sometimes I hear things that aren't voices, little bursts of sound, echoes. They almost sound like words, but not quite. A few hours ago, one of them sounded like it said my name. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe I'm cracking up. But if it wasn't, if it was something, I'll be right here. Same frequency, same voice, and if you're still out there, anywhere, don't give up. Don't. It's now 8:19 p.m. The room's darker than it should be. The bulbs in the back hallway flickered once and then went out. Not burned out, just dead. Same with the fridge in the kitchen corner. Still hums, but nothing's cold. I think it's finally giving up. It's getting harder to tell what time it is out there. The sky doesn't follow the rules anymore. I don't know if it's dusk or just the haze thickening again. I haven't seen a real sunrise since the day of the strike. Just changes in how deep the orange gets, like someone's turning a dial up and down behind the clouds. I walked outside earlier. Just a short walk, maybe 30 feet to the fence. I needed air. Stupid, I know, but I needed to see if I was still part of something. Anything. There were 3 birds on the ground, all of them dead, Crows, maybe. Their feathers were intact, but their beaks were open like they'd been screaming. I kicked a stick at one. Didn't move. No scavengers came for them either. No flies. Nothing. There's a kind of death out here that even the living things don't want to touch. Back inside, the air's still warm, but not unbearable. I hung wet towels in the windows to try and keep the fine ash out. It's not working great, but it slows it down. There's dust in the corners, on the mic stand, on the vinyls. Louis's old copy of Dark Side of the Moon has a fingerprint on it that isn't mine. If you're listening, and you haven't turned this off because it's too much, I want you to know something. You're not crazy. I say that because I've been second-guessing myself nonstop for 3 days, thinking maybe I imagined the noise. Maybe I dreamed the way the light twisted during the first tremor. But then I get another call. Another signal bouncing off some metal skeleton of a tower 300 miles away, telling me they saw the same thing. They felt it too. A kid called in earlier. His name was Mason, 13 years old, broadcasting off his dad's ham rig in south-central Illinois. The signal was so faint I had to boost it with the analog gain filter just to hear the words. He said, "It's in the trees now." I asked him what he meant. He said the trees were moving, not blowing, not swaying, moving, reaching toward the ground even when there's no wind. He said one of the pine trees near the old baseball diamond outside his house started bleeding. Thick black stuff, dripping from the bark. His dog won't go near it anymore. That's the kind of thing you want to ignore, right? Say it's exaggeration, or radiation sickness, or just fear making things worse. But then I remembered what Reggie from Missouri said yesterday about the earth pulsing and how the animals feel it before we do. What if this isn't just a strike? What if it's a seed? God, listen to me. I sound like I'm trying to scare people. I'm not. That's not what this is. I'm trying to make sense of what's happening using what little we've got left. If I'm wrong, someone can correct me. If there's still someone out there with the knowledge. If you've got info, anything, patch into this signal. Use shortwave, AM, analog boost. Use tin foil and duct tape if you have to. Just get it through. We need science now, not guesses. We need people who know what decay looks like, who know what can contaminate ground this fast, or how something from space could make a plant change its shape. We need someone to say it's going to stop, but no one's saying that. Got another message scrawled in pencil on a food wrapper. Found it stuffed in the old mailbox out front about an hour ago. Might have been left while I was inside. No signature. Just says, "Don't go near the river. Something came out last night. It doesn't like light. It doesn't have a face. It smells like hot metal." No date, no return address. Just that. That means someone was close. Close enough to get here without being seen. Close enough to write, but too scared to knock. I don't blame them. A new report came in from what's left of Boise. A guy named Derek has been running a pirate relay from a college basement using solar panels and an old satellite phone for bandwidth. He said the last 2 days have been different. He described the ground as soft, like the topsoil lost its structure. Said a chunk of sidewalk near his building crumbled when he stepped on it, like it had been eaten from underneath. He thinks the asteroid's material is tunneling, spreading below, feeding off something. His phrase, not mine, was, "The ground is hollowing out like a carcass." I don't even want to imagine what that means. Okay. Deep breath. Let me shift for a second. For those of you hanging on, I want to give you something useful. Not just the fear, not just the stories. Here's what I've learned the hard way in the last 72 hours. 1. Batteries are currency now, especially the old alkaline kind. AA, AAA, even D cells. They don't need sun, and they're safer to store than fuel. 2. Candles burn slower if you trim the wick down short and put them inside a glass jar. It blocks the ash from falling on the wax and makes the light easier to control. 3. White rice and dried beans will outlast almost anything else you've got. If it's canned and not rusting, it's gold. If it's rusting, smell it first, then decide. 4. People panic faster in silence. If you've got a way to play music, even just an old tape deck, keep it close. People need reminders of what it used to feel like to be okay. 5. Hope's not gone. It's just quiet now. I've got a wind-up clock ticking next to me. It ticks slower than it did before the strike. I've timed it. Loses about 2 minutes every hour. I don't know if that's because the clock's broken, or because time is. I'll stay on air another hour. After that, I'll switch to low-power broadcast and loop the latest updates. I need to sleep, or at least rest my eyes. The headaches are getting worse, like pressure behind the sockets. I haven't taken anything for it yet. Don't want to waste the aspirin if this is just stress. I know some of you are alone right now. Maybe you haven't seen another human face in days. Maybe you've started talking to yourself. Maybe your own voice sounds strange now. That's okay. You're still you. Don't forget that. The world might be warping, changing shape around us, but you're still here. That means something. I'll be here again tomorrow, if the batteries hold, if the wind doesn't knock the antenna off the roof. Same time, same voice. Stay breathing, stay aware, stay human. It's just past midnight. I don't know exactly how late. The wall clock froze again, but judging by the dim light in the corner of the room and the way the static hum shifts on the line, I'd guess it's around 12:20 a.m. I'm still here. If you're hearing this, that means the batteries are still holding. The line didn't fry. The ash didn't clog the exhaust fan. The tower didn't fall in on itself. Not yet. Outside, the air feels thicker than it did yesterday. When I opened the hatch earlier to check the signal booster, it almost felt like the wind pushed back. Just heavy, like you're walking into a room that's too full, except there's no one in it. There was something else too. A smell I haven't noticed before. Not the plastic burn or the dust stench. This was sharp, almost electric, like ozone, the kind you get before lightning strikes. But there's no storm coming. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds. Long enough to listen. Long enough to hear the trees rustling even though there was no breeze. And then I shut the hatch again. There's a new crack in the cement near the generator door. It's thin, but deep. And it wasn't there yesterday. Something's shifting underground. I can feel it in my teeth. I'm going to play part of a recording I made earlier. It's from a shortwave burst that lasted only 12 seconds. Faint signal came in on a scrambled channel around 10:46 p.m. I boosted it, cleaned it up as best I could. Listen closely. Static hiss. Station. Echo 2, do not respond. Repeat, do not respond. They are listening through. Cut to static. Initiated sequence 9. Not safe. They're not gone. They're under. Total dead air. That's all I caught. Don't know who sent it. Don't know where they were. But they were trying to warn someone. And someone was listening. Another message came through just after dusk. A man named Jonah from outside Cheyenne, Wyoming. He said the sky opened up there. His words, not mine. Opened up. He said it like a door. He was driving an old Ford, 1973, carbureted. One of the only cars still working. He saw a light in the rear view, and he stopped. Not like headlights. This wasn't a car. It was hovering, white, like a halogen bulb through smoke. And then, it was gone. Just blinked out. He waited there for half an hour, engine running. Nothing moved. No other cars, no birds, just the whine of the engine and the crackle of the CB. Then his radio popped. A voice, low, whispering, like it was right behind his ear, said one word. Come. He turned the rig off, opened the door, and got back in 5 seconds later when he heard something breathing outside the cab. He didn't see it. Didn't try. Just floored it and drove straight until the gas gave out. He's holed up now in a ranger station. Says he's got canned goods and a wind-powered rig for charging batteries. He's going to try to keep broadcasting on 27.105 megahertz during daylight. Told me to pass the word on. So I am. If you hear anything strange through your equipment, anything that doesn't feel like just static, don't engage. Don't talk back. Don't answer. We don't know what's listening. I've been thinking a lot about what happens when all the rules we grew up with stop mattering. When the sun doesn't rise on time. When your phone is just a piece of plastic. When the air bites instead of soothes. It's easy to forget you're still a person. I caught myself talking to the old studio camera earlier. It's not connected to anything. Just a black lens on a rusted tripod. But I looked at it and said, "You still with me?" Because sometimes I'm not sure I am. Still no contact from any major government frequency. NORAD is silent. FEMA bands are blank. No GPS pings. No commercial aircraft overhead. I saw a jet vapor trail yesterday, real high, but it didn't follow the arc of normal flight. Just a straight burn across the sky and gone. Someone out there still has fuel, still has the altitude, but they're not helping. Maybe they can't, or maybe they're running from something we haven't seen yet. An old man named Everett came through here this morning. Looked like he hadn't slept in a week. Wrinkled clothes, busted glasses, dragging a cart with 2 wheels and a tarp. Said he walked from Baltimore. Took him 5 days. Said the highways are like graveyards now. Cars stacked, windows smashed. Some of them burned. Some frozen. He said the strangest thing was the quiet. No dogs, no birds. Just wind and the creak of metal. He had a notebook. Pages full of scribbles, diagrams, math, some kind of signal decay graph. He used to work in radio astronomy, he said. Retired in 2027, moved into a senior complex near the water. He asked to come down into the shelter just for a minute. Just to sit somewhere not moving. He didn't talk much after that. Just looked at the ceiling, then muttered, "It's not just what hit us. It's what came with it." I tried to get him to explain, but he shook his head. "They're not traveling across space," he said. "They're waking up. We were the ignition. We struck the match." Then he asked if I had coffee. I made him some, burned, bitter, but warm. He left at dusk. Didn't say goodbye. I don't know how much longer I can keep this station running. The inverter's starting to give off a high-pitched whine. Could mean heat buildup. Could be the ash messing with the fan intake. If I can't clean it tomorrow morning, I'll have to shut it down and reroute everything through the backup generator. It's louder, burns more, but it'll buy me another 36 hours if I ration power right. If I go silent, I'll be back. Might take a few hours, maybe more, but I'll come back. I promise. Don't give up on this signal. Don't give up on yourself. You're not broken just because the world is. You're not wrong for still hoping. You're not crazy for still listening. I'm signing off for a few hours, going to try and rest, or at least close my eyes without seeing what I saw the first night. I'll be back at dawn, whatever that means now. Same signal, same voice. Stay awake, stay human, stay ready. It's morning, I think. The light coming through the cracks in the ceiling is paler than usual. Not brighter, just thinner. Like someone's trying to shine a flashlight through a wet sheet. You can sort of tell it's there, but it doesn't do what light's supposed to do. Doesn't warm anything. Doesn't reflect. Still, I'm here. Miles Jensen. Broadcasting again from what's left of 98.7 FM, running on patched wire, cracked solar, and whatever hope didn't dry up overnight. If you can hear me, I'm real. I'm awake, and you're not alone. I couldn't sleep. Every time I shut my eyes, I saw that crack near the generator door. It's longer now. I measured it with an old shoelace. It grew 3 inches sometime before dawn. I didn't feel another quake. Didn't hear anything shift. It just stretched while I wasn't looking. Something's moving down there. Last night, after I signed off, I sat here in the dark and listened to the air. Not the broadcast lines. Not the static. Just the room. There's this faint sound I only catch at night. Not loud enough to make sense of. Just soft pulses, 3 at a time, spaced maybe 20 seconds apart. I tried recording them, but playback's useless. They don't come through on the reel-to-reel. Only live. Only when you're here. It's like the station itself is breathing. I tried to check the tower again, got about halfway up the old service ladder before I had to stop. The metal's rusting faster than it should be, like it's been sitting in salt water for years. I scraped at it with a wrench. Flakes just peeled right off. I think the whole frame's breaking down, molecule by molecule. Could be the dust. Could be something else in the air. Could be whatever's underground wants us blind. Got a new voice this morning. Came in during the twilight hour on a broken FM relay out of Asheville. Girl's name was Nadine. She couldn't have been older than 17. Said she'd been holed up in the back of a gas station off Route 40. Her parents didn't make it out of town. She didn't say how. Just that it was quiet now. Too quiet. Her words. She said the ash finally stopped falling there, but now the air shimmers. She described it like heat waves off pavement, except it's not hot. Cold, actually. Cold enough to see her breath even in July. Said she saw a deer walk straight into the glass door of the shop. Didn't hesitate, just walked into it. Head first. Broke its neck and collapsed. But when she came out later, it was gone. No blood, just smeared dust where the body had been. I asked if she was safe. She said she didn't know anymore. But she's still alive. And that matters. She's got a crank radio, one good flashlight, and a stash of water bottles from the store's back room. She's rationing. She's thinking. She's moving slow. She's doing everything right. If you hear this, Nadine, I believe you. I believe everything you said. You're not crazy. You're not imagining it. And if the signal gets any stronger out that way, I'll try to relay you in live. Stay sharp. Stay hidden. Another note. Someone left a chalk message on the south wall of the station overnight. I didn't hear them come. Didn't hear them leave. Just saw it this morning when I stepped out to dump the water filters. It said, "They're already in the rain." No signature, just that sentence. That's the third reference to the water in the last 2 days. First Reggie's call about the lake, then the bubbling sewer reports from Tennessee, and now this. I don't know what's happening to the systems underground. Plumbing, reservoirs, storm drains. But something's getting in. If you've got a sealed source, well water, tanks, rain collection off metal roofs, guard it. Double filter. Boil it. Store it inside. Don't trust anything that flows where you can't see. I've had 4 different people describe seeing the same thing now. Something moving inside shadows. Not in the light. Not standing there. Just inside the shadow itself. They say it looks like the shadow grows taller when no one's looking. That it shifts angles even when the light doesn't move. That sometimes it leans toward you. I didn't want to believe it. Still, don't. But I walked past my desk lamp an hour ago and swear to God my own shadow hesitated. Just half a beat, like it didn't want to move with me. Might be my brain playing tricks. Might not. Still no confirmation from Washington. Still no word from state emergency frequencies. The NOAA band loops the same broken line. Communications error. Signal lost. Reconnect command center. Been hearing that same recording since the second night. What happened to all the satellites? Where are the pilots? The drones? The towers? Why isn't anyone fixing this? Unless there's nothing left to fix. A woman named Mari called in from outside Flagstaff. She said something I've been trying not to say aloud, but maybe she's right. She said, "This isn't about survival anymore. This is about witnessing it." She said maybe we're not the ones who'll fix it. Maybe we're just here to record it, to speak it out loud so whatever comes after knows we saw it, knows we tried. I don't know what I think about that, but if that's true, then this mic is my pen. And you, listening right now, you're the reason I'm still talking. I've got half a bag of rice left, a dozen cans of soup, enough water for 5 more days if I don't wash. I'm not out yet, not even close. But I need to ask something. If you're out there and you're doing better than me, if you've got a group, a working generator, a safe zone, reach out. Even if it's just to say you exist. This broadcast might be one of the last things still connecting the dots across this continent. Let's draw a map with voices. Let's leave behind truth. Even if it fades with the signal, I'm going to keep the line open through the morning. If anything new breaks, movement, light, sound, I'll log it and send the details at noon. Until then, stay underground if you can. Listen to the wind before you trust it. Watch the trees, and whatever you do, don't drink the rain. It's early afternoon now. If I'm right, it's somewhere past 1:30, maybe closer to 2. The shadow of the tower used to help me guess, but lately it doesn't move right anymore. I watched it this morning for a solid hour. It stretched at the wrong angle, then started pulling back before the sun shifted, like it was moving on its own schedule. I laid a wrench next to the wall and marked its shadow with a piece of chalk. Then I went back to the same spot an hour later. The wrench hadn't moved, but the shadow had. Shorter, then gone, then suddenly, back and wider than before. I didn't mark it again. I didn't want to give it the satisfaction. That probably sounds insane to anyone who didn't live through last Tuesday. But to those of you still breathing, still tuning in, still trying to understand what the hell we're in, I know you felt it. This isn't paranoia anymore. It's pattern recognition. I've been in this studio bunker for what feels like a month, but it's only been 5 days since the sky cracked. 5 days since the burn line crossed the Rockies and the birds vanished and the signals died. 5 days since the world stopped pretending that it was stable, that it was natural. I used to sit in this chair and talk about rainstorms, music trivia, county fair schedules, and maybe a little politics when the calls started flooding in. Now I sit here in the same chair and wonder if the sound I'm hearing through the floor is just pressure on the pipe, or if something's tunneling up through the ground. I'm not being dramatic. I'm not trying to create panic. I'm just done lying to myself. I know what Earth is supposed to sound like. This isn't it. There's no bird song, no buzz of insects, no distant hum of traffic. It's just silence broken by breathing and static and that low-frequency hum, like the one you hear in an old building before the power cuts out. A man named Theo came to the station earlier. I didn't hear him until he knocked. Softly, like he wasn't sure I was real. He wore a jacket 2 sizes too big, face sunburned, knuckles scraped. He carried a pack full of salvaged food, wire coils, a small car battery, and a baseball glove. I let him in. Sat him down. Offered him a cup of water from the jugs I've got stashed. He didn't talk for a while, just stared at the ceiling, listening to the creaks and ticks and far-off sounds that feel almost watchful. When he did speak, he asked if I remembered the hiss of fluorescent lights, said he missed that sound. I told him I missed the noise of a crowded diner, silverware clinking, conversations bleeding over one another, 2 people missing 2 different kinds of life at the same time. Theo said he came from a survivor cluster south of Altoona. 15 people living in the remains of an old state-run daycare center, the kind with bright murals peeling off the walls and cubbies still full of children's shoes. They'd rigged a few solar panels on the roof and were trying to keep everyone fed with what they could scavenge. But 4 of them had gone missing 3 nights ago. No signs of struggle, no blood, no broken locks. Just gone. One of the children, 7 years old, named Cassie, said she saw the lights on the floor move around their sleeping bags. Not lights from above, lights from underneath. When Theo tried to ask her what she meant, she clammed up. Drew a shape in the dirt instead, a spiral, bent inward. He said it looked like a whirlpool. She told him it was a door. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how to categorize what's happening anymore. This used to be a natural disaster, a celestial event, an unexpected strike. Now it's turning into something else, something we were never meant to classify. Something alive, or sentient, or maybe just aware. Not like a person is aware, more like how fire is aware of wood, how gravity is aware of cliffs. It doesn't want anything. It just acts. And we just happened to be standing in the way when it did. I got another shortwave burst a few hours ago. This one came from someone operating near the Minnesota-Canada border. Didn't catch a name, but the voice was male, maybe late 30s, heavy breathing like he'd been running. He said something about a northern aurora that wasn't an aurora, that the sky cracked with color around 4 a.m., like a dome lighting up, except the colors were wrong, not green or blue. He said it was the color of bruises, of dried blood. Then he said something that made my spine crawl. He said, it whispered to me in my own voice. Then the signal cut. Not faded, cut, like something pulled the plug. I haven't heard it again since. I haven't told you about the dreams, have I? Yeah, I know. Radio hosts aren't supposed to talk about dreams. Too subjective, too slippery. But when the world breaks, Sometimes dreams are all we've got left. Mine started 2 nights ago. The first was just colors. Not like normal colors, though. Not things you can describe with words like green or red. They were sounds, shapes. I know that makes no sense, but they felt like they belonged to a place we used to live in, long before cities and roads and radio signals. Last night was different. Last night I saw something sitting at the base of the tower. I knew it wasn't human. It was too still, but it wasn't menacing either. It just waited. Quiet. Patient. I asked it what it was, and it turned its head. Not fast, just slow, like drifting smoke. And when it spoke, it used my father's voice. He died in 2023, but he said, "You already opened it." That's when I woke up. Sweating. Throat dry. Clock flashing zeros. That line keeps echoing in my head. You already opened it. I think it means the strike wasn't the beginning, just the trigger. We'd been building toward this for years, in the noise, in the signals, in the machines we buried, and the satellites we launched, and the silence we ignored. Maybe it was always going to find us. Maybe we called it. Or maybe it was always here. I don't know what the next hour looks like, or the next day. I've stopped planning past the next time the generator kicks on. I sleep in bursts, eat in halves. I ration my batteries like other people used to ration prayers. But what I do know is this: I will stay on the air. I will keep this line alive. Because I need to believe that somewhere, someone is still listening. Someone out there is still breathing, still building, still resisting. If that's you, don't shut this off. Don't turn away from the silence. Talk back to it. Scream if you have to. Get on your frequency. Tap your keys. Signal with flashlights through the ash. Do something. Let this thing know we're still here, that we saw it, that we didn't just roll over and disappear. I'm going to keep the line open for the next few hours, power allowing. If you've got a working mic, a battery, and something to say, patch in. Tell me what you see, what's changed, what's still human. I'll record it all. I'll speak your names. I'll say them loud enough to reach whatever sky still listens. This is Miles Jensen. Station 98.7 FM. Still breathing, still watching the horizon for whatever comes next. The air's changed again. I opened the hatch this morning and felt it immediately. It's not just thick now, it's wet. Not humidity, not rain, just wet. Like the atmosphere itself is sweating through the dust. Everything I touched outside felt slick, even the dry things. The gravel around the tower had this sheen on it, like someone sprayed it with oil and then let it sit overnight. My hands still feel tacky. I've washed them twice. Doesn't come off. And the smell, it's deeper. Before, it was just chemical. Burned wires and plastic. Now there's something underneath that. Metallic, but not iron. Something bitter. Almost like blood. I don't know if it's real or if it's just stuck in my sinuses after breathing this garbage air too long. But it's in here now. I can't tell where it ends, and I begin. I checked the perimeter again, walked the outside of the building. Nothing touched the door. No footprints in the mud. But the eastern fence was warped, like it was pulled outward from the inside. I know what that sounds like. I know how crazy it is to say something came through steel mesh without cutting it. But it's there. You can run your hand along it and feel the bend, the strange ripple where the chain link thinned, like it got thirsty for something and stretched toward it. There was a drag mark in the grass, too. Not an animal track. Too wide, too long. like someone slid a body across the lawn, except there weren't any shoe prints near it. Just the streak. Just the dirt pulled back like a curtain. This place isn't safe anymore. But it's what I've got. I keep going back to a voice I heard 3 nights ago. A transmission caught between the static on an old analog band. I think it came from northern Michigan. Maybe one of the old Cold War stations up there that used to do weather alerts. The voice was garbled, broken by reverb, but clear enough to make out the tone. It wasn't a broadcast. It was a confession. A man talking to no one in particular, maybe not realizing he was being picked up. He said, "We tested for biological signatures, and we found something in the rock. Not DNA. Something else. Something older." He didn't explain what that meant. Just kept repeating that word. Older. Like that alone was supposed to explain everything. Like we should know what that implies. And maybe we do. I've talked to 4 different survivors in the last 24 hours. One in Vermont, one near Little Rock, one somewhere in Idaho who wouldn't say exactly where, and one from Ontario, southern edge, close to where the lakes used to glitter before they went black. All 4 of them reported the same thing, down to the timing. At 3:09 a.m., their time, they heard a low-frequency tone. Not audible, but felt. Said it came through the bones, not the ears, like a tuning fork pressed to the chest. Said it lasted exactly 67 seconds. No sound outside, no birds, no wind, just the vibration. Then, afterward, their clocks jumped forward by 2 minutes. Same time, same sensation, different states, different devices. Whatever this is, it's synchronized, and we're the wrong side of the clock. Someone left a scrap of paper at the back door this morning. I nearly missed it. Just a corner, sticking out from under the old vent cover. Looked like it was torn from a manual, printed in that faded dot matrix style, like something from the 90s. It was stained, warped by moisture, but I could read most of it. If contact is established with any organism exhibiting non-Earth-based photonic patterns, do not engage. Do not analyze directly. Do not illuminate with visible spectrum light. Suppression of awareness is the only safeguard. Photonic patterns. That's the second time in as many days someone's hinted that this isn't just biological, that it's visual, or maybe pre-visual. Something the eye processes before the brain does. Like looking at a warning label too fast to understand, but feeling the meaning hit you anyway. I don't know who wrote that page. I don't know what lab or base or secret listening post they were holed up in when they typed it out. But they knew something, and whatever it was, they weren't trying to stop it. Just avoid noticing it. That chills me more than anything else. We were told, back when this first started, that the asteroid was natural, that there was no indication of intelligence, just a rogue rock from the Oort cloud or some long-dead comet trail. But what kind of rock knows to avoid telescopes? What kind of rock breaks through Atmo without shedding a signal, a burn pattern, a radar cross-section? What kind of rock lands without a sonic boom, but leaves a hole that bleeds heat for days? And what kind of rock sings? I heard it last night. A sound outside the studio. Not static, not wind, not mechanical. It came from under the earth. A hum, soft and long, so low it made the window frames tremble. I held my breath and leaned in close to the wall. And I swear to you, it rose in pitch for just a second, like it knew I was listening, like it wanted to meet me halfway. I backed off, turned off the generator for an hour, sat in pure dark, no power, no light, just breath and bones and the quiet roar of a world slipping out from under itself. I think it's communicating, not with words, with presence, with pressure, Influence. You've felt it. I know you have. That shift behind your spine when you walk too far into a dark room. That sudden need to check behind you even though no one's ever there. That weight in your chest when you hear silence go wrong. That's it. That's the message. It doesn't want to tell you something. It wants you to feel it. I haven't had a full meal in 2 days. Water's low. I cracked open the last can of peaches last night just to taste sugar again. The sweetness almost made me cry. I saved the syrup and put it in an old glass bottle. A reminder that there was once fruit, once sweetness, once life that wasn't soaked in this slow horror. I don't know how many people are still out there. I don't know how many still have working radios. But if this signal finds you, if this voice finds you, I'm asking you to hold the line. Stay awake. Stay aware. Even if you have to pretend the shadows aren't bending wrong. Even if you have to sing songs just to fill the space. I'll keep speaking until the mic goes cold, until the antenna collapses, until the ash seals the doors and the batteries run dry. I'll speak for all of us who saw it, who stayed human through it, who refused to look away. I didn't sleep last night. I think something was at the door again. There was no knock this time, just a pressure. Not a sound exactly, more like a shape the air was making. I could feel it through the walls, through the floor, like when you're in the same room with someone angry, and they don't need to say anything for you to know. You just feel it in the way your body holds still. I sat there for over an hour with the lights off, hand on the battery lamp, staring at the top of the metal door where the outside light leaks through. That light is supposed to be gray, a dusty, sick kind of daylight that hasn't looked natural since the strike. But last night, it turned pink, for just a few seconds. Just a pale, rose-pink hue crawling under the doorframe like something soft and wrong was moving past on the other side. And then it was gone. I stayed in the dark until morning, if you can still call it that. It's strange how fast the body learns new rules when the old ones stop working. I haven't seen stars in a week. Haven't seen real sunlight in almost as long. I haven't heard a single bird. Not even a stray dog barking. If I ever hear a crow again, I think I'll cry. That was the last animal I saw alive, 4 days ago, lying stiff in the grass near the generator shed, wings curled like it had tried to fold itself inward before it died. I buried it. Just one bird. I don't know why I bothered. I guess I wanted to feel like something deserved peace, even if nothing else does anymore. My voice cracked during yesterday's sign-off. I didn't say anything, but I noticed. I haven't been drinking enough water. I ration what I can, boil it, double filter it, store it in a metal drum under the desk. But it tastes bitter now. I don't think the filters catch whatever this is. The rain's too strange. It slicks off metal. Pools wrong. If you leave it in a jar, it separates overnight into layers. Not oil and water, not dirt. Something else. Something that glows just faintly if you stare at it too long. I stopped staring. I poured it out. Someone sent a message by candlelight. I found it under the station sign this morning, sealed in a Ziploc bag, wrapped in waxed paper, weighted with a wrench. No name, just handwriting. The note said, "There are people still alive in Erie. At least 20. Hiding inside the cathedral. The glass didn't break when the sky did. It turned black. They think it's safer there. But one of them hears voices in the walls. She says it's the bell tower talking. She hasn't slept in 2 nights." That's all it said. I don't know who wrote it. Don't know if they're one of the 20 or just someone passing through. But I'm going to say it now, loud, For anyone out there with a signal or a notebook or a chance to act, if you're near Erie and you're alive, find that cathedral. Bring water. Bring batteries. Don't bring light unless you have to. Candles are safer than LEDs. Whatever's in this air hates heat, but seems to follow electricity. I don't know why. I just know what survivors keep telling me. Lights attract attention. Keep them low. Keep them rare. It's strange what I miss. Not the obvious things. Family, friends, routine. I mean, yes, of course those things hurt. I keep thinking about my sister in New Mexico. I don't know if she made it. Her last message was a voicemail about canned tomatoes and a neighbor's cat. But no, I mean the tiny things. I miss the hum of a refrigerator. The way your hands feel after washing them in hot water. I miss the pause before a song starts on a speaker. That tiny half-second of silence that somehow feels like a breath the world takes. I miss chewing gum. I miss traffic lights. I miss bad coffee and waiting rooms, and the part of life that felt boring. Nothing's boring now. Everything is soaked in static and uncertainty, and that low, crawling awareness that something is watching, something that doesn't have eyes, something that listens by the way dust settles, something that breathes through the patterns of broken streetlights. I had a dream again. I know, I talk about dreams too much, but they're all I have left for reference. The dream started the same way. Me, sitting in this chair, headset on, watching the signal strength meter twitch. Then it shifted. The dials melted. Not quickly, just folded in on themselves like they were made of hot wax. The mic turned black. Then the air around me started moving like water, like I was submerged but still dry. And then I heard my name, my full name, Miles Carter Jensen, spoken in the voice of someone I haven't heard in 15 years. My high school history teacher. I know that makes no sense, but I heard her, clear, calm. She said, "You were warned, not by me, but you knew, you all knew." And then I woke up and the clock was blinking again. 5 hours had passed. No power outages, no burned fuse, just missing time. A woman named Talissa broke through on channel 146 this morning. Her signal was weak, but her voice was strong. She's in what's left of Asheville. Her group's got a repeater running off an old train depot solar grid. She said they've got about 40 people, maybe less now. They're growing food under UV lamps they salvaged from a hydroponics lab. Lettuce mostly, a few root vegetables. She said it's working, but slowly. The soil's unreliable. Some patches reject water, others grow black mold in under a day, but they're fighting through it. And she said something else. She said there are creatures in the fog now, not people, not animals. Shapes, tall, thin, not moving like they walk, but like they're being pushed, drifted. She saw one through the haze at sunset, standing between two power lines, unmoving for hours. No face, no light, just there, watching. I asked her if it spoke. She said no, but she heard it anyway. I keep thinking about the way the world used to end in books and movies. Explosions, viruses, wars, collapse that made sense. Something big, something human, something we could point to and say, it was us. But this is something else. It didn't start with fire. It didn't start with noise. It started with silence. And it's still spreading. I'll be here again at nightfall, unless the lights fail, unless the wind turns, unless the shadow under the door decides it's time. But until then, this is Miles Jensen, still breathing, still burning through the hours. Stay alive, stay awake. Whatever this thing is, don't let it take your name from you. I think time is slipping. I don't mean that metaphorically. I think the hours are actually stretching and contracting, like rubber. I've been keeping track, not just by the clock, which can't be trusted anymore, but by habit. I mark the wall when I eat, mark it again when I sleep, and once more every time the generator cycle kicks in. Yesterday, or what I called yesterday, I counted 6 full generator cycles between sunrise and what I assumed was sunset. Today, I only counted 3. And I didn't fall asleep. I didn't lose consciousness. I was awake the whole time. There's something about the air now, or maybe the light, what little of it bleeds through the dust, that's making the hours stagger. Or maybe we're staggering, and time is standing still, and we just can't keep up with it anymore. I sat outside the hatch for a while today. Didn't go far. Just enough to lean against the outer wall of the studio and feel something other than recycled air in my lungs. It's warm again. Warmer than it should be for July, but not like summer warmth. It's a dead warmth, like heat from something that shouldn't be hot. It doesn't carry the scent of grass or ozone or sweat. It carries nothing. You breathe it in, and your throat dries out instantly. No birds, no insects, not even the whisper of leaves. The trees don't move anymore, not even in the wind. They just stand there, rigid, still, like they're holding their breath with us. I saw something standing in the far distance, near the water tower. Couldn't make it out clearly, just a shape against the haze. Tall, narrow, almost too straight to be a person. I blinked. It didn't. I raised my binoculars, but the lens fogged instantly, as if something inside them didn't want to see it. When I cleaned them, the figure was gone. No footprints, no movement. Just dust blowing the wrong direction for a few seconds. I came back inside and locked the door behind me. Not because I thought it would keep anything out, but because I needed to feel like I was still capable of doing something that mattered. The last message I got was from a boy. Maybe 15. His voice cracked when he said his name. Sam. He's alone somewhere near the Ohio River. Said he's been hiding in a storm drain behind a collapsed gas station. His parents didn't make it out of the city. He didn't say which city. I didn't ask. He's got an old CB rig powered by a hand-cranked lantern and a car battery. He checks in once every 12 hours. Doesn't talk much. Just says he's still there, still breathing, still listening. Last night, his message was different. He said he heard a voice singing. Not close, not human, just a tone. High-pitched, wavering, like a lullaby from underwater. He thought maybe it was in his head until he held the receiver out and caught a faint echo in the static. I played the tape back 3 times. I think I heard it too. Just one note. A perfect, sustained tone buried in the hiss. Like something calling to something else. Like sonar between things that aren't supposed to exist. Sam said it made him feel safe. And that terrified me more than if it had scared him. Because whatever's out there, whatever came with the asteroid, it doesn't need to kill us. It just needs us to forget we were ever afraid of it. I've started talking to the mic even when I'm not live. I don't even realize I'm doing it anymore. I'll just be eating, or fiddling with the antenna feed, or staring at the maps taped to the walls. And suddenly, I'm narrating my own silence. I think it's because the voice in my head doesn't sound like me anymore. It's quieter, almost patient, and I don't trust it. The only thing keeping me tethered to who I used to be is hearing my real voice bounce back through the monitor. That and the sound of the tape rolling. There's something comforting about analog machines, about watching reels turn, hearing buttons click with resistance. They don't pretend to be anything else. They just do. Unlike the world outside, which now seems to want to deceive you. You'll see a path, and when you walk it, the path is shorter than it should be. You'll count steps, and you'll get a different number every time. You'll swear something was there yesterday, and today it's just an outline in the dirt. I marked a spot near the western fence post. A hole, small, clean, dug like a rabbit would, but too perfect, perfectly circular, like it had been drilled. I measured it, 6 inches across, 2 feet deep, nothing inside. I covered it with a board and a brick. The next morning, the board was gone. The hole was still there. Wider, 8 inches now. No tracks, no brick. I keep thinking about how humans were never made for silence. We're born into noise, heartbeat, breath, the sounds of others nearby. Silence was never a sanctuary. It was a warning, a predator's pause, a power outage in the soul. And now silence is the world. Cities reduced to ash and echoes, roads without engines, homes without conversations. And in that vacuum, something else is speaking. Not in syllables, in sensations, in timing, in the way light bends or dust settles, or your own reflection flickers too slowly in a broken window. If you're hearing this, I need you to remember that your mind is still your own. Even if your thoughts are getting slower, even if your dreams are turning into places that feel more real than the waking world, even if you start to feel drawn toward the light leaking through cracks in the wall at night, that's not instinct, that's invitation, and you must never accept it. One last thing before I go off air for maintenance. A voice came in on a broken repeater out of Louisiana. I barely caught it. Just a whisper, layered over feedback. I ran it through the reel twice, slowed it, filtered it. It said one sentence. The sky is only a mouth. And that's it. That's all it said. I don't know what it means. But I think we're inside the teeth now. This is Miles Jensen, 98.7 FM. Holding the line for one more hour, one more breath. I'll be back, if I'm still human. It's dark again. Not night, just dark. It's been like this for over an hour now. The outside world flipped sometime after 4. No warning, no storm. Just this curtain that dropped out of the sky and smothered the last of the gray light. I opened the hatch to look, and I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. It's not fog. Fog scatters. This is dense, like being buried alive in charcoal smoke that doesn't move. No wind, no scent, just black. I closed the hatch and locked it twice, even though I know that doesn't mean anything anymore. The lock's for me. A ritual. Something I can do with my hands when everything else has turned strange. I lit 3 candles in the studio, 1 in each corner. There's something about the way flame behaves now that I can't stop noticing. It flickers slower, moves like it's suspended in thicker air, and it casts shadows that stretch too far, like the walls are farther away than they used to be. I waved my hand between the flame and the filing cabinet and watched the shadow lag half a second behind, like it was watching me, like it needed time to decide how to follow. It's happening faster now. Whatever it is, the spread, the rot, the transformation. I used to think we were dealing with a disaster, a strike, a burn, a fallout zone. I don't think that anymore. I think this was never meant to be a single event. I think it's a process. One that started quietly and is picking up speed, like a slow wave curling under the ocean surface, invisible until it crests above your head. And by then, you're already too deep in to run. There are patterns emerging. 3 nights in a row now, I've received faint pulses on Band 3, what used to be NOAA marine weather frequencies. Not voices, not data, just pulses. Long, short, short, long. Almost like Morse, but not quite. I've written them out, translated the patterns. They don't spell anything in English, but when I plotted the spacing between each signal burst, it formed a wave, a sinusoidal rhythm, almost mechanical, but not perfect. It had decay. It had breath. I don't know what to make of it, but someone, somewhere, is still sending. Or something is. I haven't heard from Sam in 36 hours. He's the kid in Ohio, the one hiding out near the river in a storm drain. Last contact was short. He said the water was rising, even though it hadn't rained. Said it smelled sweet, like syrup. Then he paused, and then he whispered, "There's something humming in the water." That was the last thing he said. I've been calling back on repeaters every 4 hours. No answer. I don't know if he's gone, or if he's changed. You might wonder why I keep doing this. Why I keep broadcasting, logging, speaking into the dark like a man narrating his own slow disappearance. It's not hope. Not in the way people used to mean it. I'm not waiting for a rescue. I know that nobody's coming with clean boots and a clipboard to put this back together. I know the satellites are probably blind now. The ocean's boiling quiet under empty skies. But I keep going because speaking reminds me I still have a voice. And because maybe, somewhere, some other voice is waiting to hear that they aren't the last one left. There was a time when radio was about reach, range, how far you could bounce your signal. That's not what matters now. Now it's about resonance, about cutting through the distortion long enough to make someone pause and breathe and say, "There it is. I heard it. He's still out there." And if you heard this, if this voice is crawling through your speaker or whispering through your old car radio, then you're still out there too. And that's reason enough to keep going. There was another note this morning, handwritten. Same waxed paper. Same careful print. Whoever's leaving them must be watching me. I don't hear them, don't see them. But the notes keep appearing in the exact same place, tucked into the fold of the north side rain gutter. Today's note said, "We're past the line now. It's not infection. It's adaptation. You're breathing it. So are we. If you've heard the tone more than once, you've been marked. Stay warm. Cold accelerates it." I read it 6 times. I haven't thrown it away. I've heard the tone 4 times. I found myself watching an old tape this afternoon. One of the emergency reels Louis left behind, labeled Test Pattern Archive, 2003. It's just an hour of a color bar test tone, with the old emergency alert banner scrolling across the bottom. But I let it play, just to hear something structured, something that wasn't trying to rewrite the shape of the world. There was comfort in it, in its uselessness, in how it didn't respond, didn't warp, didn't listen back. I've started wondering if the real danger isn't what's falling apart, but what's replacing it. The silence isn't just absence. It's a preparation, an empty space waiting for something else to move in. I got a call just before sunset. Broken signal. One voice. It came through on the same repeater Sam used, but it wasn't Sam. It was a woman. Too calm, too steady. She didn't say hello, didn't ask who I was. She just said, "He's with us now. He doesn't hurt. He doesn't remember." Then the line went dead. I've tried replaying it. No trace. No signal log. It's like it never happened. But I know what I heard. And if you're listening, if you've heard her, then you know we're losing people. Not to death. Not in the usual sense. We're losing them to something else. I'll keep the signal open tonight. I don't expect sleep. Not anymore. The black outside is deeper than pitch now. It moves. The candles are starting to pull to one side. Like gravity's shifting, just a little. Like the world's tilting towards something. I'll be here when it gets closer. This is Miles Jensen. Still transmitting, still waiting, still me. Please, don't forget your name. Don't forget your shape. Whatever happens next, don't forget you were human. The candles are burning lower now. All three. I trimmed the wicks this morning, changed the jars, tried to stretch their lifespan by half a day. But I think they know. I know that sounds ridiculous. But when you've watched fire act wrong for 5 straight nights, you start to wonder what else has started to remember it's alive. The flame flinches sometimes, like it's reacting to something I can't see, like it's shrinking away from a sound I'm not hearing. And then there are the moments when it reaches up, taller than it should, burning too hot for its size, and that's when I know something is near. I've stopped walking past the north corridor after sundown. That hallway used to lead to the old archives, then the back stairwell. Now it's just empty space, black and still, but not silent. The pipes hiss there at night. The walls groan. I told myself for days it was just the temperature shifting, or old concrete settling, or echoes playing off the hollow storage shelves. But now I'm sure it's none of that. There's a rhythm to it. Not speech. Not quite. Just movement. A stutter between the creaks that almost feels like breathing. Once, just once, I thought I heard my own name whispered through the ductwork. Too soft to be real. But I turned anyway. And there was no one there. Of course. I haven't looked in the mirror since Thursday. I don't know if I'm afraid of what I'll see or what I won't. There's this fear that's hard to explain. That if I look too long, the reflection might hesitate. Might look back a second too late. Might smile when I don't. Or worse, might not be there at all. The mirrors are covered now. All of them. A sheet, a sticker, anything I could find. It's not superstition. It's not madness. It's a line, a mental checkpoint. If I need to see myself, I can. But not until I'm ready. Not until I know I'm still me. I found a hair on my pillow this morning. Long, black, and definitely not mine. I stared at it for 10 full minutes. I live alone. Haven't had a visitor in days. Haven't let anyone through that door since Theo, and he left before nightfall. I burned the pillowcase. I didn't want to wonder if someone or something had stood over me while I slept. If I slept, the message board's full again. Dozens of scribbled reports from survivors. Some vague, some desperate, some too short to make sense of. I'll read the clearest one now. This came from a woman named Helena, transmitting from a makeshift relay station west of Duluth. She wrote, "We've lost half the group. Not to violence, not to starvation. They just drifted away. First they stopped talking. Then they started standing outside at night, staring at the trees. They wouldn't blink, wouldn't move. One by one, they disappeared. No screams, no struggle, just absence. We tried to stop the last one, Mark, but when we grabbed his arm, he turned and looked at us like we weren't real. Said, 'You don't need to come. You already have.' Then he walked into the woods and never came back. We haven't followed. Not yet. I don't have commentary for that. Only silence. Because I know she's not the only one seeing it happen. Something has changed in the air. I know I keep saying that. But today, it felt undeniable. When I stepped outside, just for a second, to test the panel voltage on the east-facing solar array, I felt watched. Not seen, not monitored. Watched. Like the air itself had bent around me in acknowledgement. I didn't move. I just stood there, heart hammering, waiting for something to happen. But nothing did. Not right away. And then the wind blew inward. Not from the north. Not from the east. Just inward. Like all the air around me sucked toward a central point for half a second and then vanished. My ears popped. My balance swayed. I grabbed the edge of the generator housing and held my breath. It only lasted a moment. But I haven't stopped shaking since. I received a burst transmission from Canada early this morning. 5:03 a.m. exact. The voice was male. Calm. Low. Almost soothing. He said, "We tried to talk to it, to map it. Sent a drone into the burn site. 30 seconds in, the signal inverted. Not lost. Inverted. We got sound back, but it wasn't what we sent in. It was human. Too human. A man's voice, screaming backward. And the scream never ended. Even after the drone stopped transmitting, the scream continued in the headphones. One of our techs tore his earpiece out. The wire had melted. That's all I received. I believe him. Because last night, I heard something similar. My signal meter went dead for 8 full seconds. During that gap, the entire studio filled with a low-frequency pulse. Not a hum. Not a tone. A pulse. Like a heartbeat made of static. It wasn't coming through the radio. It was in the walls. In the air. In me. I bent over, hands on my knees, and almost passed out. It faded. But I still feel it in my chest. Like a second rhythm riding beneath my own. I've stopped using the digital clock. It runs backward now, every 3rd hour. Not all at once, just small increments. 6 minutes lost here, 4 there. Then the display flickers, and suddenly it's an hour earlier than it should be. I'm using a wind-up pocket watch now, one of Louis's old ones. I think it's still honest. But even it ticks slower when the sun disappears. Even it seems afraid. I don't know how much longer I'll be here. I don't mean that in the dramatic sense. I just mean this building's cracking. The eastern wall groaned earlier today. Loud, like something shifted behind it. Something massive. Something slow. I traced the noise with a flashlight, but the beam fractured before it touched the far corner. Like it bent around something that wasn't there. And I felt heat. Just for a second. Then the light returned and everything looked the same. But it wasn't. I know it wasn't. This is Miles Jensen. Still at the mic. Still speaking into the dark. Still hearing my own name at odd hours from places it shouldn't come. I'm going to stay on air until the inverter fails, or the wall collapses, or whatever's breathing through the cracks decides it no longer wants to share the space. But until then, keep your light low. Keep your voice your own. And if you start to hear music in the silence, don't follow it. I think something's trying to speak through the machines. I spent most of this morning tuning the band manually, just listening. No broadcast, no filters, just me, the headphones, and the faint hiss of existence. It's become a kind of ritual now. I tell myself it's for diagnostics, that I'm monitoring signal strength or atmospheric interference, but really, I'm listening for proof. Proof that I'm not just transmitting into a void. Proof that something, anything, still answers. But today, it didn't sound like proof. It sounded like a message being forced through a throat not meant to speak. The signal kept wobbling, rising and dropping in slow, painful waves, and underneath the distortion was something like syllables, not words, just the shape of them. Like listening to someone try to talk while drowning, or maybe underwater on purpose. I let it play for 20 minutes, volume turned low, just to see if it would stabilize. It didn't, but what unsettled me wasn't the signal, it was what happened in the room. The temperature dropped. Not everywhere. Just in a cone directly in front of the receiver. The air turned heavy, wet, colder than it should have been for this time of year. Or for any time of year, considering I'm surrounded by sealed cinder block and running off a heat loop powered by the last functioning fuel cell. The cold was localized, contained, as if the sound had brought the temperature with it, or like something was standing there, just out of view. I turned it off. That chill lingered for an hour. There are fewer transmissions now, fewer voices. I used to hear the low chatter of survivors every night, broken, scattered, full of static but human. Now it's mostly tones, rhythms that don't repeat exactly, like sonar mapped to a language no one taught us. I got one yesterday, somewhere around 3:17 p.m., just as the ash outside thickened again. It came through on a civilian band of all things. No encryption. Just 5 solid tones, each lower than the last, followed by 10 seconds of silence, then 3 higher tones, then nothing. I played it back a dozen times. Not because I thought I'd find meaning, but because it made me feel watched. Not by a person, not even by an intelligence the way we used to think of it. More like a presence, a recognition. The same way you feel when you're standing in a clearing and realize a deer has been staring at you the entire time, and you don't know how long it's been there. The tower groaned again. This time it was different. It wasn't just metal under pressure. It was deeper, almost guttural. The way old ships moan under ice when the weight becomes unbearable. I stood in the hallway and waited to see if it would stop. It didn't. It changed. Like something moved inside the structure. Not wind. Not stress. Movement. Something alive in the steel. It stopped when I approached. Not because I scared it. Because it let me. I haven't climbed the ladder since last week. I don't think I ever will again. There's a new crack in the eastern floor, near the supply shelf. Thin, spider-webbed, curling like a vein. It pulses sometimes. I know how that sounds. I know I'm treading close to madness when I say it. But I've laid a matchstick on the edge of it, flat, every hour, 5 times today. Each time it vibrated, just barely. A little dance on the edge of visibility. The building isn't just shifting. It's breathing. I've started forgetting small things. The names of streets. The color of my old car. What Louie's voice sounded like. I know these are details I once knew cold. Simple, harmless memories. But they're being replaced. I close my eyes, and I don't see my old neighborhood anymore. I see corridors. Long, curving, damp with condensation. The kind of hallway that doesn't belong in any building, like a tunnel bored into something living. Sometimes I'm walking in it. Sometimes I'm standing still and it moves around me. Last night, in the dream, or whatever passes for dreaming now, I heard footsteps behind me. They were soft, slow, deliberate. But when I turned, there was only a wall. Smooth, glistening, gently flexing. Then the wall blinked. And I woke up to the sound of my own voice, whispering something I didn't understand. A woman named Mira called in last night. Her voice was so clear it made me stop mid-breath. Like she was in the room, like I could feel the heat of her skin on the wire. She said she's with a group of 10 in what used to be a school basement near Laramie. They've blocked the vents, sealed the windows, blacked out every crack of light. She said it's not safe to let any illumination out at night now. Not even a sliver, because the light attracts them. I asked her who she meant by them. She said, not people, not yet, but maybe once. Whatever's left of them. They don't move toward food. They move toward memory. I asked what that meant. She paused. Then she said, they remember the shape of what you used to be. That's how they find you. They recognize your outline. And then the call dropped. I haven't been able to reach her since. I want to believe the human brain can adapt to anything. That's what they always said, right? That we're flexible, resilient, capable of surviving any environment given enough time and desperation. But I don't think that's what's happening here. I don't think we're adapting. I think we're being overwritten. One thought at a time. 1 hour at a time. I write these words to keep myself present, to keep track of who I was. Because every night the dreams get stronger, and every morning I feel more like an echo of someone who used to be me. I sat in the corner of the bunker today, staring at the wall, and for a full minute, I couldn't remember what I was doing, or why, or who the hell I even was. I looked at my own hands, and they felt too long, like they didn't fit the memory of the bones I grew up with. And then I remembered my name, and the air let go of my lungs. This is Miles Jensen, still here, still on air, still remembering. And if you're listening to this, if your signal survived the collapse, if your breath still fogs glass, if your voice still cracks when you whisper your own name in the dark, you are not alone. The shadows may be learning the shape of us, but we still have sound. And I will speak until they forget what silence used to mean. I don't know if I slept or blacked out. There was a moment, maybe sometime around 3 this morning, when the light in the far corner of the studio turned red. Not suddenly, not like a bulb dying or a fuse popping. It just bled that way. The warm, flickering yellow from the candle shifted to this deep, angry hue, like it was shining through thick blood or wet cloth. I stared at it until my eyes watered, and then the whole room tilted. Not physically, just perceptually. The walls bent ever so slightly inward, as if something was wrapping the space in cloth, cinching it tighter and tighter. I don't remember sitting down. I don't remember blinking. But the next thing I knew, I was lying on the floor next to the transmitter cabinet, with blood dried in the corner of my mouth and the reel-to-reel still running in silence. The candle had gone out. Not burned out. Just out. Like something had taken the flame away. And I've felt wrong ever since. My limbs move like they're remembering an instruction I forgot. My thoughts loop, repeating names I haven't said in years. My sister, Leah. My mother's maiden name. My first pet's name, over and over. As if something is asking me to confirm who I am, and I don't know who's asking. Or why. The signal strength fluctuates more now. The meters don't just wobble. They shudder. They spike into the red with no source, then fall flat to 0. And when they rise again, I swear the static isn't static anymore. It's a language. I don't mean Morse. I mean something deeper, something older than code. A pattern that's not meant to be understood by logic, but felt like pain, or longing, or hunger. I've tried recording it, tried analyzing it on analog readouts, but the waveform pulses in irregular curves, like it's adapting, changing its shape every time I try to pin it down. And the more I listen to it, the less I remember the sound of my own voice. I received a transmission from Denver, or what used to be Denver. The caller didn't give a name, just said, "It's not the crater anymore. That was just the doorway. Now it's everywhere the light won't go." He said they'd seen people walking through buildings that weren't there, just stepping into walls, vanishing into angles that don't exist in human geometry. He said a woman from their group had stopped eating and stood for 6 hours in front of a wall, whispering in a language no one recognized. When they tried to move her, she bit through her own tongue and then smiled through the blood. Said, "You're not supposed to look backward." That's all he told me before the signal collapsed into feedback. Not a cut, not a loss, a collapse. Like the connection fell through the floor and was swallowed by something waiting underneath. I haven't been able to raise that frequency since. I can't be sure anymore if I'm hallucinating or documenting. Every part of me wants to stay grounded, to hold to the reality I knew before the sky went quiet. But every day, something else bends. The physics, the time, the space between things. I've lost count of how many steps it takes to walk from one end of the studio to the other. Some nights it's 12, some nights it's 25. Once it was 2, just 2. I tested it, marked the floor with chalk. The lines were different in the morning. There are no earthquakes here. No tectonic plates shifting beneath my feet. Just space, forgetting how far it's supposed to go. And I think it's doing the same thing to memory. I opened the cupboard earlier and found a can of peaches I know I ate a week ago. The label was the same, the dent on the side. Even the black marker I used to note the date. I held it for 10 minutes, trying to decide if I'd imagined eating it. Then I opened it, and inside was nothing. Not empty, just wrong. The inside was dry, caked, filled with white powder and the smell of metal that wasn't quite rust. I threw it in the waste bin and didn't look at it again. When I went back to check an hour later, the can was gone. The bin was empty. Someone's calling me by name on an empty channel. I don't know how long it's been happening. Could have started days ago. Could have been years. The voice is male, unfamiliar, calm, but not warm, like a doctor reading a chart. No emotion, just data. He says, "Miles Jensen, you are approaching the threshold." I've recorded him 6 times now. It's always the same message, word for word, tone for tone, the same delivery. But here's the part that unsettles me most. It's not a broadcast. It doesn't come through the airwaves. It comes locally, from the transmitter itself. I've unplugged it, turned the dials to 0. But when the lights dim and the ash falls heavier, the voice comes through anyway. Quiet, patient, like it's waiting for me to agree. To step over, I know what some of you must be thinking, that I've snapped, that the isolation, the silence, the exhaustion has finally cracked me open like the others. And maybe you're right. Maybe this is what a mind does when it can't carry the weight of an unrecognizable world anymore. But if that's the case, if I'm hallucinating, then how do I explain the matching reports from others? From Mira, who saw her husband walk into a shadow and never cast one again. From Raul in Arkansas, who swore the trees began whispering the names of people who hadn't lived there in decades. From Naomi in Vancouver, who says the stars came back one night and they were in the wrong places, too close together, too bright to be ours. We can't all be dreaming, can we? I keep the old emergency hand crank near me now, not because I need it, but because it sings, just faintly. When the generator dies and the lights go low, I'll spin the crank once, and from the coils, this soft tone rings out. It doesn't last long, just a few seconds, but it sounds pure, real, like the sound of a memory refusing to decay. It reminds me of the world before the burn, before the pressure, before the soil began to hum and the wind began to watch. It reminds me of the days when the radio was just a tool and not a mirror. If you're hearing this, if your signal still bleeds through the dust, if you still know your own name and the sound of your breath, then hold on, grip the rails, light the matches. Speak your truth into the wires, even if you don't know who's listening, because something is listening, and we can't afford to let it be the only thing speaking. This is Miles Jensen, still here, still wired to the last frequency that sounds like me, and I will not fall silent. Not yet. It's 4:06 a.m., or maybe later. Time's gotten harder to confirm now. The mechanical watch I've been using, the last thing I trusted, stopped during the night. Not suddenly, not from damage. It still ticks, still hums, but it's stuck at 4:06. Has been for hours. The second hand moves, clicking around the dial like nothing's wrong, but the hour and minute hands won't follow. They just rest there, pointed at that frozen hour, like it's the last moment the world agreed to be real. I checked it 3 times with the generator on and off. No difference. Even when I took it apart, cleaned the springs, and reset the tension wheel. Still stuck. Still ticking. Still lying. It's as if the idea of time itself has broken, and all we have now are rituals pretending they still mean something. The hatch is sealed again. I barred it after I stepped out earlier. Too early, too soon, too still. There was something in the air I didn't have words for. Not scent, not color. Just this density. Like sound couldn't quite pass through it. Like breath was discouraged. I walked 20 feet from the door and felt the ground underneath me pulse once. Just a single thump, deep and slow, like the heartbeat of something buried under the soil and getting closer to the surface. I dropped the tools I was carrying and just stood there, frozen, listening. And then I heard it again, fainter this time, like an echo beneath the dirt. And then silence. That's when I knew I had to go back inside. I didn't pick the tools up. I left them out there in the dust. They're not worth what they might cost. Last night, a new voice broke through. It came over the AM fallback channel, which barely works now. Usually just static and electric bleed, but at 2:38 a.m., it came through clear. Like someone whispering in my ear through a thin wall of water. A woman. Calm. Clear. Not distressed. But wrong. Like her voice had been filtered through something too smooth. No background noise. No breath between sentences. Just her voice. She said, "We are inside now. Your shape is remembered." That was it. Not you. Your shape. That distinction is sitting in my chest like a stone. I recorded it, played it back twice. The file corrupted before the third play. Now all I get is silence when I try. Not static. Silence. A complete, intentional absence of sound. Like the signal was erased, not by failure, but by something that didn't want it heard again. I've started taping notes to the walls. Reminders. Not of where I am, but who I am. I have them written in thick, permanent marker, block letters, so even if the lights go out or my hands start shaking, I can still read them. You are Miles Jensen. You are a radio host. This is Pennsylvania. You are alone, but not lost. You have not been changed. Not yet. I update the notes every morning. Sometimes I add new ones. Like today. Do not go east. That one came after I heard the sound. The one in the static. The one that didn't sound like it wanted me dead. It sounded like it wanted to be remembered. I keep wondering how much of this was waiting for us all along. The old world was loud, overstimulated, digital, saturated in so much noise that even a scream could vanish into the algorithm. But now that everything's quiet, now that the machines have gone still and the electricity no longer hums under our feet, the other sounds are creeping in. Not new ones, older, waiting, patient, like mold in the walls we never noticed until the air got cold enough for it to breathe. Maybe we didn't break the world. Maybe we just peeled back the insulation. And what we're hearing now is what's always been there. I remember years ago reading about a concept in astronomy, how space isn't really empty, how even between the stars, there's radiation, particles, gravity, that even nothingness has structure. And I think about that now, about how silence isn't really silence anymore. It's the weight of something that wants to be heard but not understood. The noises in the wall have returned, louder. I thought at first it was structural decay. I told myself that the way people tell themselves a sound at night is just the house settling, but it isn't. It follows patterns. 3 knocks, a pause, then 2, then silence, then something wet dragging across the far pipe. And last night, I heard it say something. Not loudly, not clearly, but enough. A single word. Miles. I didn't answer, not because I was afraid, but because part of me wanted to. And I can't allow that. I can't let this place turn me into something that answers back. I saw my face in the glass of the equipment cabinet today. Not a mirror, just a reflection on curved plastic. It didn't blink when I did. It smiled, just for a second. I turned and walked away. I haven't looked back. The reflection is probably still there, waiting. There's an old radio I keep powered off most of the time. A little red plastic thing with a tuning dial that sticks. I turned it on this morning, thinking maybe I could catch a local weather burst, or maybe some rogue survivor signal. What I got was music, faint, old, the kind of music that only plays in dream sequences and films no one watches anymore. A slow, reedy version of You Are My Sunshine, played on what sounded like a broken music box. It skipped every 4th bar. And under it, barely audible, breathing, deliberate, measured, like someone standing right next to the mic while the world ended around them. I turned it off, but the melody stayed in my head for hours. And now, I can't stop humming it, even when I'm not thinking about it, even when I'm asleep. If anyone's still listening, anyone still human, still breathing, still unbent, I need you to hear this. There's something beneath us, not metaphorically, physically, something ancient, not alive in the way we are, but not dead either. It's learning the shape of memory. It's reaching up through the cracks in time. It's whispering through wires and flickering behind reflections. And if we stop speaking, if we stop writing, if we stop remembering who we are, It will take our place, not by killing us, by becoming us, one signal at a time. This is Miles Jensen, and I still remember my name. I heard laughter today, not mine, not from the speakers, and not from any recording I'd left running. It was close enough that I felt it in the soles of my feet. It came from somewhere behind the east wall, near the cracked conduit panel. Just one burst. Software not mocking, not gleeful, just wrong. It stopped as quickly as it began, like someone realized they weren't supposed to do it. Or maybe like something was trying to test how I'd react. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just sat here with the broadcast line open, mic hot, heart pounding in my throat like a second pulse. My hands were shaking, and I let them. It's important now to let your body feel what's true, even if your mind can't make sense of it. And then, 2 hours later, I found something at the edge of the transmitter stairs. A child's shoe, caked in dust, cracked at the heel, the laces stiff from age or exposure or both. I don't know where it came from. There are no children here. There haven't been children anywhere near this station since before the strike. And yet here it was, placed perfectly at the midpoint of the stairwell, like a marker, like someone had left it for me to see, to question, to fear. I picked it up with a pair of tongs and wrapped it in plastic. It's still sitting in the corner, inside a box I haven't touched since Louis died. I don't think I'll ever open it again. The power grid under the old cabinet finally gave out. It sparked once last night. This faint blue flash, like a lightning bug had been born and died in the same breath. And then nothing. I've rerouted everything to the backup battery array, but that means fewer hours of transmission. The solar panels still charge during the day, barely, through the smoke-thick sky. But the light isn't enough anymore. It filters in weak and sick, like it's been chewed up by something before it ever reaches the glass. I've started dreaming of black suns, not metaphorical, actual orbs in the sky, burning inward, eating the light instead of giving it. I dream they float low over the horizon, making no sound, casting no shadow. And when I look up, I see other people looking up too, but their faces are all turned the wrong way. Their necks bent backward, faces aimed at the sky, but their eyes looking down into the dirt, like the sky itself isn't meant to be witnessed anymore. I always wake up cold after that, always sweating, heart racing, teeth clenched so tight my jaw aches for hours. And sometimes when I wake up, I'm already standing. That's the worst part. Waking up already upright, already at the hatch. Hand on the bolt. I don't remember getting there. But something in me does. I received a short burst from Kentucky today. The voice didn't say a name. They just said, they've breached the salt mines. The walls didn't hold. And then silence. I don't know what that means. I don't know who they are anymore. I used to think it was the radiation, the fallout, some alien fungus, some deep space anomaly we couldn't predict or stop or name. But that word, they, keeps repeating. From survivors, from voices in the static, from dreams. And the more I hear it, the more I start to think it isn't referring to anything new. I think it's us, what we're becoming. The versions of ourselves that are no longer bound to air or water or body or mind. The echoes that linger after we forget who we were. After we walk out into the black and decide never to return. The ones who smile through bleeding teeth and speak backwards without moving their lips. The ones who hum lullabies into the floorboards. They don't kill you. They unmake you. I tried to map the radio signals again. I plotted each confirmed transmission from the past 3 days. Timing, location, length, and something strange emerged. A spiral. A perfect logarithmic spiral, centered near what used to be Kansas. That's where the impact was, or near enough. That's where everything began to change. But what I didn't expect was the consistency, the regularity, the way the pattern expands outward, folding in on itself, always returning near, but never to its origin. Like it's searching, or remembering, or broadcasting some kind of signal back to the sky. Sometimes I think I hear someone breathing behind me. Not close, just behind, like a presence leaning forward. Not quite touching, just hovering, curious, still. I don't turn around anymore. I used to. Instinct made me do it. But all that does is feed it, feed the pattern. If you look, it grows. If you ignore it, it waits. So now I sit, eyes front, voice steady, pretending I don't feel the cold breath on the back of my neck when the lights dip. But I feel it. Every single time. A man named Elijah sent a signal today. He's holed up in what's left of an old hydroelectric plant in Washington state. Says they've got 32 survivors, a decent water supply, and an analog food chain. Chickens, gardens, manual tools, no digital anything. He said the people who stayed off-grid the longest are doing the best now. He said something else too. He said the river is singing. Not loud, not constant. Just under the surface. He dropped a hydrophone into the water just to test it. Standard check for any changes in aquatic pressure. And when he played it back, there was a sound. Rhythmic. Layered. Almost choral. He said it sounded like 1,000 voices whispering beneath the current, perfectly synced, humming a tune that made his ears ring and his knees buckle. His team cut the line, but he still hears it. Every time he stands near the shore, this world is not dying. It's changing, rewriting itself. I can feel it now, in my bones, in the blood that dries slower than it should, in the way shadows no longer obey the light that casts them, in the way silence wraps tighter around every breath I take. I will not lie to you. I don't know how much longer I can do this. Not because of fear, not because of hunger, because of forgetting. It's getting harder to remember what I was like before. My own voice sounds unfamiliar on playback. My writing feels too sharp, too foreign. There are entire hours that vanish now. I black out mid-sentence, come to minutes later with no memory of what I said. And sometimes, when I rewind the tape, I hear laughter. Not mine. Something deeper, older. Like the world itself is laughing now, but I'm still here. And if you're still out there, still holding a pencil or a crank light or a page of names, then you're still fighting too. This is Miles Jensen, still alive, still unmade, still speaking, and I will keep speaking until there's no one left to hear me, or until the static swallows my name for good. I woke up with ash in my mouth, not choking, not gasping, just ash, dry and fine, packed between my teeth, gritting along my tongue like I'd been chewing paper in my sleep. I hadn't opened the hatch. The ventilation was sealed. I checked twice, but the ash was there anyway, like it had grown from inside me. I spat it into the sink and watched the water run gray for a minute before stopping it altogether. I'm down to the last barrel, boiling twice, storing in dark jugs, still tastes like iron and static. But it's better than what falls from the sky now. That stuff feels alive. If you leave it alone too long, it clumps together, moves on its own. Not much, just barely, just enough. I left a plate out 2 nights ago. A mistake. Just wanted to soak it before cleaning. I was tired, distracted. Fell asleep next to the mic, woke up 5 hours later, and the plate was covered in black dust. But it had shapes in it. Concentric circles. Not random. Not wind patterns. They looked drawn, as if something had hovered over the plate and tried to remember what symbols were. I stared at it for a long time. Didn't touch it. Just dumped the whole thing into a bag, sealed it with tape, and put it in the old fridge downstairs. No power there anymore. But it's metal. It's sealed. It makes me feel better to trap it somewhere. Whether that matters or not, I don't know. I heard my sister's voice last night. I haven't spoken her name aloud in weeks. I've been afraid to. Like it would summon something that remembered her better than I did. Leah. She lived in Taos. Moved out there after Dad died. Loved the mountains. Always had a scarf around her wrist. Even in the summer. Said it was a habit she never shook after childhood. She called me the morning of the strike. I didn't pick up. I was reading weather updates on air. I figured I'd call her back once the segment ended, but there wasn't a later that day. Just the pressure, the flash, the air folding in half. After that, her number went dead. The whole region went dead. But last night around 2:11 a.m. I heard her voice through the speaker. Not calling, not crying, just humming. A tune we used to make up on road trips. Simple, pointless. 2 notes forward, 1 back. Our way of annoying Dad into turning on real music. I froze when I heard it. Didn't breathe, didn't blink. Just stared at the tuner like it was a ghost's mouth. The sound came through clear. No static, no distortion. Just humming. Then she said 1 word. Miles. And the line went dead. I didn't speak for the rest of the night. There's something moving in the corridor outside the broadcast room. It's too narrow for footsteps, but I hear them anyway. Software measured, walking the length of the hall over and over, as if something's waiting for me to open the door and acknowledge it. I haven't. I won't. Not until I know what it wants. I've learned not to trust sound anymore. Just because it mimics human rhythm doesn't mean it remembers being human. Sound has become a tool out here, a disguise, a baited hook made of memory and breath. I got a message from an old storm chaser named Emmett. He's been transmitting from a gutted radio truck somewhere in Nebraska. Says the lightning hasn't stopped since the second night. Not the real kind, though. Something else. He says the sky opens up over the prairie and stays open. Silent flashes, spreading out like spider webs across the clouds, but never accompanied by thunder. Just pulses of light over and over again. He recorded 1 sequence that lasted for 48 minutes straight. Pure white burns. No storm, no rain, just illumination and silence. He said it looks like the sky is scanning the earth for something, or someone, that the clouds part without wind and reveal only more clouds behind them. He said the cows started walking in circles after it began. He said his dog won't bark anymore, won't eat either, just stares at the window, waiting. He asked me if I thought the light was alive. I didn't know what to tell him. I saw something in the reflection of the emergency exit hatch today. The metal's dull, warped from age, but still catches just enough shape when the candles are lit behind me. I was walking past it, trying not to think too hard, just checking the locks, the hinges, the chain. But as I leaned in to examine the frame, I caught a glimpse of movement in the curve. At first I thought it was me, just my own shadow. But then It blinked. I didn't. It did. Then it smiled. I turned and nothing was there, but the shape remained in the reflection for another full second before vanishing. I haven't gone back to that side of the room since. I think there's something watching through reflective surfaces now. Not like a camera, not like a lens, more like a doorway that can only be opened from one side. I've covered all the mirrors, all the glass, anything that catches more than a blur. I've learned the hard way that not everything that sees you wants to be seen in return. The wind outside changed direction today. For the first time in 6 days, it blew west to east. The ash drifted in odd spirals, rising instead of falling. I watched from the slit above the hatch, watched as the horizon turned amber and the birds, God, the birds, finally returned. But they weren't right. They didn't flap their wings. They hovered, 30 or 40 of them, hanging in the air, not drifting, not adjusting for turbulence, just suspended, like puppets on invisible wire, completely still. And then, one by one, they turned in place, each head tilting the same direction, toward the building, toward me. And they didn't stop watching until the wind died. Then they fell. Not flew. Fell, like leaves, or stones. And the sound they made when they hit the earth was too heavy to be bones. Something's collecting memories. Not just mine. Everyone's. I hear it in the transmissions. The way people stutter on names they used to say without thinking. The way they forget where they buried their food, or how long they've been underground. I spoke to a woman last week. Her name was Clarissa, I think. And halfway through our conversation, she asked me if Pennsylvania had always had mountains. I told her yes. She paused and said, "That doesn't feel true anymore." And I didn't have an answer. Because lately, nothing feels true anymore. Everything feels borrowed, like the world is being reconstructed out of partial sketches. And we're just trying to pretend the gaps aren't there. I don't know how many people are still alive. I stopped keeping count, but I know that as long as I have this mic, this voice, this single human thread woven through the fog, I will not stop broadcasting. I will not let the last thing this world hears be silence. This is Miles Jensen. I remember who I am. I remember who you are. And I am not done speaking yet. It's quiet again. Not peaceful, not empty. Just quiet. That unnatural, weighty silence that sits in your lungs like smoke. The kind of silence that hums when you hold your breath and still somehow hear something moving inside the walls. I sat with it for an hour before switching on the mic. Just sat in the chair, not blinking, barely breathing, afraid that if I made any sudden noise, I might hear something respond. This station was built to withstand storms, outages, short-range surges from nearby lightning strikes. But it wasn't built for this. The walls sweat now, not from condensation. This isn't humidity. The moisture is wrong. It smells faintly of iron and vinegar, like something organic. I tried to collect some in a jar, left it overnight on the supply shelf. When I checked this morning, the glass was cracked, and the liquid inside was gone. Not spilled, gone. The inside of the jar was completely dry, like it had been drained, not leaked. I haven't touched that shelf since. The broadcast tower is humming again. I thought I'd imagined it the first time, a deep, low frequency sound that rises just enough to catch the edge of human hearing. But now I know it's real. It started 2 days ago. Once every hour, right on the minute, a steady pulse vibrates through the base of the tower, travels down the support struts, and into the ground. The equipment doesn't register it. Not visibly. But the analog meters flutter, and the needle drifts just far enough to suggest that something is moving, something that doesn't want to be measured. The pulses last 6 seconds. They come whether the generator is running or not. Even when I disconnect the entire board, they still come, which means the power isn't coming from inside this building. It's coming from below it. I dreamed of snow last night, but not white snow. It was black, oily, slow-falling, flakes that didn't melt when they touched the skin. They clung like leeches. In the dream, I was outside, barefoot, shirtless, my hands red from cold, but my chest burning. I looked up, and the sky wasn't the sky anymore. It was an eye. Not blinking, just watching. Endless and wide, and the snow wasn't falling. It was being exhaled, like breath, like spore. When I woke up, there was soot under my fingernails, and the floor near my cot was wet. The window was still sealed, no break in the hatch, no signs of entry, just that moisture and that stain. And the smell, bitter, floral, wrong, like a memory of a funeral you weren't supposed to attend. I spoke to someone near the Gulf last night. Her voice was shredded, like it had passed through too many repeaters, bounced through too many damaged lines. But I could make out enough. Her name was Elise. She said the water had stopped moving. Not boiled, not frozen. Stopped. Completely still. She said the waves collapsed all at once, like the tide had decided to hold its breath. Boats are stuck in place now, hulls leaning, anchored to a sea that doesn't push back. She walked out on the beach and saw her own reflection in the ocean, perfectly clear, except it didn't move when she did. She said she dropped her flashlight and it rolled into the water, and for just a second, she saw something ripple beneath the surface, not from the object, but from underneath, as if it had been watching her watch it. Then the call dropped. I haven't heard from her since. The hallway is shorter today. I measured it. Again. It used to take 15 steps to reach the far locker. This morning it took 12. I checked the markings I carved into the wall a week ago. Same spot, same distance apart. But the space between them is shrinking. Not dramatically, just enough to be noticed. Like the hallway is folding in on itself slowly, casually, as if it assumes I won't say anything. And maybe I shouldn't. Maybe calling attention to the wrongness is what invites more of it. But if I stop noticing, if I stop recording, then what's the point of surviving at all? What's left, if not the truth? Even if the truth is a moving target with no name and no shape. I lit a candle today and watched the flame flicker sideways for half an hour. No breeze, no draft. Just that slow lean to the left, like gravity itself was bending off axis. I placed a compass beside it, old one, analog, and the needle didn't spin. It quivered, like it wanted to move, but something was holding it in place. I stared at it until I felt dizzy. I looked away and nearly collapsed. My sense of direction is fading. My sense of scale is going next. I look at a mug and can't tell if it's close or far. I hear my own voice, and sometimes it feels like it's coming from behind me. I keep finding drawings in places I didn't leave drawings. Chalk markings on the desk. Pencil on the back of the battery case. A single spiral scratched into the metal near the radio dial. Always the same shape. Wide curve, tightening at the end, curling inward like something pulling the world into a drain. I haven't drawn anything since March. I don't know who's making them, or what part of me might be. The old tape recorder played something this morning. I didn't press play. It turned itself on. The reel spun for 5 minutes. No signal fed into it. No tape inside. Just the sound of the motor, and underneath it, a whisper. So faint I could only catch pieces. It said, "You will not know when you've crossed." The shape remembers the first version of you. Keep talking. It slows the conversion. I pulled the plug, but I still hear it spinning, even now. This is Miles Jensen. Still speaking. Still awake. Still alone, I think. I'm leaving the mic open through the night. If you hear this, say something back. Even if it's only a whisper. Even if it's only your name. Because one day, this voice might not be mine anymore. And I need someone to remember what I sounded like before the static got in.